Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ted's Cellar, the premier alcohol review show here on YouTube with me, your most gracious host Ted, and the old mead
brewing master.
Yeah,
was what he said.
Yeah, Phil. Although, like I think, like we said before, the fact that the second batch was kind of like more of like a 3 or 4 out of 10 was kind of a bit upsetting. I didn't want to sort of like mouth you off about it because, like, I remember when we recorded that, I thought you seemed like so proud that you'd like given it a good bash, and then like we tried it and we were like,
yeah,
oh,
it tasted like vinegar.
That's the thing. It didn't taste quite that bad. It was just very like subpar honey beer, basically.
Right. Yeah.
But I've reviewed a couple of other homemade ones. They were both pretty, like, in the region of like 9 or 10 out of 10. They were pretty good. But today we're going to be taking a look at a beer some of you will have probably seen before. Also, you guys are probably wondering why there hasn't been a video in the last couple of weeks. I'll explain that sometime in the future. Just bear out with me on that. But yeah, we're going to be taking a look at Mahou. This is a Spanish beer that I honestly haven't tried a lot in the past. We got it from the co-op when we were getting our frozen pizzas. And I think it was a 4-pack for about. It was in the region of like £5 to like about £5.30.
Yeah.
So I think it was somewhere around £5.25 or so. It's 330 millilitres, 5.1% alcohol volume, and ingredients include water, barley, malt, maize, and hops. So it's a pretty simple sounding beer. I'm wondering if it would be quite as like malty San Miguel, because I think that's something that like a lot of people know about San Miguel, is it's got quite a full-bodied like malty flavour, doesn't it?
Yes. I mean, from your description, it sounds like this might be a bit more hoppy as a beer.
The impression I'm getting is that it'll kind of probably be somewhere of like a cross between San Miguel, like Sol, and like a bunch of other different types of like Spanish Mexican cervezas or stuff. So I don't know. It kind of looks like San Miguel, but it sort of like, I don't know. It's a bit of an unknown quandary because I can't remember the last time I've ever drunk this. I think I might have had it in the past, but years ago, because I think we did look it up, and I think it was first brewed in like 2000 or something. So it's been around for a while.
I don't know. I've never sort of had this at all, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I think this has been brewed since 2000, but I think the brewery itself has been around for like about since 1990.
Well, according to this, it's 1890. Yeah.
Yeah, so it might have been like a beer that's actually been around for ages, but this might just be like the latest interpretation for it. But yeah, anyway, I'd say it sort of feels a bit like it kind of looks like an off-brand sort of like San Miguel, but I do like the colouring a bit more, so I'll give the design of the bottle and the label probably like an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10.
Yes, yeah, it's a very nice bright scarlet label, I will say.
Yeah.
Nice and eye-popping, and I do like the gold highlights. They shine quite nicely. I like the sort of simple, sort of almost gothic script M at the top as well. That's a really nice touch.
Anyway, now let's. So I think probably like an 8 out of 10. Do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right,
definitely. Simple, but I like it.
Now let's crack these suckers open and see what our first impression is like. Cheers.
Thanks for that pen knife, by the way. It's come in handy.
No, it's all right. It was. I just remember you never had one, and you sort of like you're always out and about, and you seem like it would just be something you'd need because like you're always out in like the Downs or in and around the greens around Sussex and Southampton, so I thought it just kind of made sense, really.
I had one, but I lost it in my first year at university. No idea how.
It's one of those things, kind of like just gloves and stuff, really, that you just constantly lose, even when you buy like half a dozen spare ones.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's have a quick snifter. Oh, it's quite.
My! What is that?
It's not like a harsh smell, but it's very sort of like noticeably. Yeah, it kind of does smell like just a really hoppy version of San Miguel, basically.
That's exactly what I thought, yeah.
It does, it kind of, the smell it makes me think of, actually, is when you haven't drunk all week leading up to, like, Thursday or Friday, and then you go into a pub for the first time that week, and you crack open, like, your first bottle of beer, or get your first freshly poured pint of the week. That's the kind of impression that it gives me. It's like, really like uplifting, and you're like, oh, it's finally the end of the week. Like that's the kind of impression it gives me.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's got maize in it probably might go some way to explain this relative sweetness and lightness of it.
Yeah, because even though it's got quite a sort of like, I would say pungent nose. It's like you said, it's still quite light in the nose. It's like it doesn't really like hit you too much.
No,
it's quite nicely sort of like just kind of filters through the nostrils, really.
I like it very much. It is kind of reminiscent of almost like a German lager in that it's got this, you know.
Yeah,
I was going to say it was wheaty, but there's no wheat in it. So
yeah, it's kind of got. But I kind of see what you mean. It's kind of like got that Spanish maltiness and then that just sort of German haziness in it as well. So I kind of see that. I'll give the nose honestly like a 9. It smells really nice.
Yeah, I would go that. I'll go that route as well. Not quite sort of in the top, but definitely up there.
I don't know. I really like the nose of that. What would you give it?
I think I would probably give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
8 or 9 out of 10 is fine.
I'm going to have a quick palate cleanser of water. Because your palate just seems to reset itself at like a moment's notice.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I also had water when I came in. So.
Yeah, that's true. But like, still, you're able to like have like appetizer or like apple juice, and then you're just like able to like critically assess like a piece of cake right afterwards. It's like it's maddening. It's absolutely bizarre. But anyway,
right.
Cheers and thanks for letting me stay around. And
you're so welcome.
To everyone at home, bottoms up.
Ooh.
I wouldn't say it's got quite as smooth a texture as like some other Spanish and Mexican cervezas like. It's definitely not quite as smooth as like Corona or a Sol.
No.
And I prefer the texture a little bit more of like San Miguel, and especially the San Miguel Fresca version, which is basically like what if San Miguel basically just copied Sol, pretty much.
Fair enough.
But it's not like a bad texture. It's just a bit. It's just not the smoothest or easiest to swallow down at the end. But what do you think so far?
I quite like it. I mean, Spanish beers I find a bit hit and miss.
They are, yeah.
But they have more character than Italian stuff, and it's got character, and it's really light and frothy in the mouth. So I quite like that.
Yeah, sorry, I just scratched my nose a bit. But
all the sort of lighter textures, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a light texture, but it's not like the smoothest. Is what I'm basically getting at.
That's fair.
As for the flavour. Yeah, again, the flavour is kind of what I expected from the nose. Really, it's kind of like It's not really particularly malty, because I think a lot of like heavier Spanish beers, particularly stuff like San Miguel, is quite like malty. Especially like Madri is a little bit like that as well. Estrella Damm also. Well, to be honest with you, though, the best Spanish beer, which is just Estrella Galicia. That's like really clear and crisp, and it's more like actually either like a French or a Greek lager. It's like very light and crisp. But so this is kind of I'd say somewhere in between like say a Greco-Italian lager and a Spanish one.
Right.
It's quite light and crisp in texture, but it's also a little bit muddly in texture as well, and it's got It's got like the body of flavour of like a San Miguel, but without that like sense of maltiness, which is why I think like I do understand some people don't really like San Miguel, partly because of that. So I think this is probably a good one if you want a beer that's slightly heavier bodied than like say a Sol or a Corona, but it's still like fairly light in terms of like the texture and flavour, if you see what I mean. It's kind of a good middle ground between those two, between the lighter stuff like Sol and the heavier stuff like San Miguel, if you see what I mean.
I definitely do. I mean, I think you can definitely see a connection between this and something like Sol. I was going to say, it's obviously not as sweet as Sol, but it is light and pleasing. And it's got a nice colour to it as well, look at that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. It's a good, solid, all-round like Spanish cerveza, but in more of like a middle ground, because usually with Spanish beers, like you said, it's very much like one of two extremes. But what were we thinking of giving this for an actual rating? Because it's, I mean, my favourite Spanish beer is Estrella Galicia, and then just probably below that is probably Madrid, and then probably below that is San Miguel.
Right.
So I'm tossing with, in terms of Spanish beers, of putting this either in fourth, but it's kind of battling that out with San Miguel Fresca. But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. To be honest, I think this might be one of my new favourite Spanish beers. I'll definitely pick it up again one of these days.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not as experienced with Spanish beers as you. I'm, fairly knowledgeable about Germanic, Belgian, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even Polish to an extent, but the Mediterranean world has generally eluded me. So all I have to really compare it to is Estrella and Corona and Mythos and so on. And, well, it's not...
Mythos is Greek.
I know, but I was saying Mediterranean beer.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, fair. So, I mean, as far as Spanish beers go, I think this may have sort of unseated Estrella as my favourite.
I'm going to say it's probably like a solid...
I'm going to say 7 out of 10 for my part. 7.5.
I'll say 7.15. He's
okay.
I think there are some beers that are better than it, but it's still really nice, and it's definitely like well above average for sure.
Yeah.
It's like it is a really nice beer, and it's one of those ones where I think even though there are ones that are better than it, I think I would go out my way to get this again because it is genuinely enjoyable. And especially if you're bringing a few of these to a house party, it's not necessarily the most expensive, and it's still strong enough that it's going to give you a bit of a hit if you have quite a lot of these. So,
I mean, 5.1 is nothing to sneeze at, is it?
No, it's about the same strength as a San Miguel, actually.
Yeah.
Like, roughly. I think San Miguel is either 5 or 5.1 from what I remember. But, yeah, I think solid 7 and either somewhere between 7 to 7.25, I think.
Yeah. No, it's definitely really good all-round Spanish beer. But, I'm still personally more of a sort of bitters and lager, German lager kind of chap.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, I think we'll leave it there because we're going to put our pizza in the oven in a minute and probably watch Face Off. But if you guys like this video, leave a like, share and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future episodes of Ted's Booze Cellar, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to check out Phil's slightly defunct but still up,
yeah, it's still there,
channel.
Yeah.
It's basic. What is it called again?
My name is just Philip Sims, and that's just what I used on YouTube. It's just Philip Sims, SIMS.
Yeah, just search for that on YouTube, and Phil doesn't really upload on there much at the moment, but he's done book reviews on there in the past. And if you want to check out any of my other social medias, I'll leave those in the video description down below as well. But until next time, have fun, stay safe with whatever you're doing, don't do anything we wouldn't do, drink responsibly, know your limits, and we'll see you guys at the bar next time on Ted's Booze Cellar. Bye-bye for now.
Cheers.